Well, hello, in person.
Hello, Sailor.
Hello, Sailor.
Oh my God, we're here.
You're like in 3 dimensions now, and not just like 2D on my screen.
Wait a minute, is this? It's real. We are all together. If I don't need these, and we are in Chicago. Well, Evanston to be specific.
Chicago represent.
We're at the home of, with my two Chicago guys, the home of few sleeping whiskey barrels.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs, go Hawks.
Oh boy, go Sox.
That's like the rest. You can cheer that like the wrong socks. You're fine. No one feels bad for you anymore.
No, I know it's true. So welcome, guys. I'm driving across the country and thought it would be really fun. I always stop through and see Ed when I'm near the area, and I got in touch with Paul, so we got to get together and do this in person.
Good
And
stuff.
I was excited to see the distillery, which we saw earlier today, where the magic is made. And then this is the second part, where everything sleeps and gets really delicious.
So maybe we should give an official introduction to
Probably.
Paul, since
Probably.
some of our viewers and listeners probably aren't aware of who he is
Smart.
at this point.
I'm just a guy.
So this is Paul Hletko, and he is the founder of Few Spirits. If you do not know Few, you need to get to know this amazing brand. They're delicious spirits. I'm a big fan of the bourbon and the American whiskey and the breakfast gin. And you have won this year even more Icon of Whiskey awards than you did last year.
Yeah.
We were together last year for the
Actually,
Icon Awards.
yesterday was the anniversary, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, it was.
Showed up on my Facebook as like, hey, 1 year ago today. I'm like, oh, that was a good night.
In person with him, like we're all breathing on each other.
Yeah.
I
Remember
think
those
about that.
days
Oh,
we could all get
God.
together without wearing these things on our faces?
Well, we were all shoved in this gorgeous bar in New York City, but I mean, I was sweating.
And were you there afterwards, the bar we went to after?
No, because we went to dinner.
That's right, so a bunch of us went out to the bar afterwards, and there was a table about this size of like 10 people. And there was a guy sitting like right over here who actually turned out he was the guy who owned the bar. And so out of this group of 10 people, the owner died of COVID 6 weeks later.
What?
The guy who was like sitting basically right here was on a ventilator for 2 weeks and survived. Lisa was like right here, and she was down and out for about a month. She survived.
Oh.
There's like this one night, like there was a group of like 10 people, and somebody died. One guy, survived the ventilator. It's like the closest I've been to COVID, even a year later.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like this crazy small group, and
oh my God.
everybody got sick except me.
Yeah, seriously.
So far.
Let's hope it stays the closest you get.
Yes, please.
For sure.
It'll be a year since Washington State got locked down very soon, and we haven't gotten it. Knock on wood. Unless we speculated, my husband and I, that he had it actually in November. All the symptoms were exactly like it. We didn't know what it was yet. And then thinking about, we were flying all over the country right before and sitting in Seattle when we got word that everything was being shut down.
No, I was in Vegas. I was in New York. I was in Vegas. I was in Atlanta. I was in Arizona almost 6-8 weeks before lockdown.
Yeah. Insane.
Whatever. My name is Paul. I'm the founder and distiller at Few Spirits. We're sitting in our barrel warehouse for Metal Rock and Whiskey,
Heck
which
yeah.
is kind of fitting because the camera is currently resting on a Marshall stack, which is about the most Metal Rock and
I'll
Whiskey
get a
thing you
picture.
Oh
can
yeah,
for
we'll have to
later,
get
for
a
sure.
picture. I wish
Yeah.
everyone could see it, but yeah, it's cool. Trust me.
Yeah, it's a 212 cab, so I know everybody's going to go, you need 2 410s, but we're not going to worry about that. It's a 212 cab. You're fine. Simmer down.
Simmer down. So,
Slow your roll if you're out there going, it's not a 410. You're fine. Simmer down.
speaking of Marshall stacks, not only do you own a distillery, and how many years are you going on now with Few?
So we are about to celebrate our 10th birthday this year.
Wow.
Been distilling longer than that, of course, because we make whiskey, but we always measure everything by when we first sold things, because until you sell something, it's a hobby.
Sure.
There you go.
So we launched in August of 2011, so that's when we measure our birthday by.
Very
And
cool.
so super excited. We got some cool stuff coming out this year, including a really nice 10th anniversary bourbon that we're super excited about. That'll probably hit the market in September. And then we've got another big metal band collab coming out. Not sure when, because we're still working on the labeling, but hopefully this summer we'll be able to get that out because it's a really cool whiskey we developed together.
And we'll get an exclusive, of course, right?
We'll do our best. I don't know about exclusive.
You heard it first here, but not really first, but maybe first.
But no, it's a really fun band, and the whiskey is fantastic. So we're super excited about it.
Well, I know the whiskey will be fantastic. That
yeah.
goes without saying. But yeah, I'm interested to see who the mystery band is.
I think I know who it is.
It's Black Rebel Motorcycle Club.
Okay.
I knew that.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's been really fun. Robert, who's kind of well, it's a 3-piece band, so there's not too many people in it, but he's kind of one of the core 3 because there's 3 of them. But he's been real active, and it's been really fun working and developing the whiskey and then developing the label because he's a good dude, super cool, super chill.
Amazing music. They're
Really
one of my top bands. I mean, I absolutely love their music. So
how did this collaboration come about? Did you contact them? They contact you? How did it all?
I think a lot of us just kind of end up being friends of friends and friends. Things kind of spin around. As we all know, the whiskey business itself is pretty small.
Sure.
And we've done some music collaborations in the past, as I know you guys both know. But we've worked with Alice in Chains, we've worked with the Flaming Lips, we've worked with Bloodshot Records, we've worked with Sarah Shook and the Disarmers. We've worked with Bloodshot Records, I think 5 times. And so, we've kind of picked up a little bit of reputation out there that, this is stuff we do.
Yeah.
And so bands, friends know and friends connect, and it worked out. We've had plenty of opportunities that have not worked out, and it still cracks me up the bands that I've said no to, because I can't believe I ever said no to them. But yet here we are.
Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities in the future. It's cool to see this regular, you could be regular release, kind of something to look forward to, for your fans out there.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think it really helps to spread the kind of news of whiskey and craft whiskey outside of the hardcore whiskey nerds. You can kind of move and stretch out and get people to be familiar with what you're doing, which is exciting. We love what we do. We're really excited about what we do. We love making whiskey and putting it in a bottle every day. But it's also exciting to be able to share that with more and more people and new people, and get people to share that same excitement we have for whiskey. Maybe they weren't that excited about whiskey beforehand, and maybe this is what brings them into the world of whiskey is, I'm a huge fan of Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. I got to try that bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I really actually like this. This is really cool. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to do that. And you can kind of play around and you can expand your horizons.
For sure.
And then, of course, the reverse is true, too, that, people who like whiskey might go, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, what's that?
Yeah.
Let me check that out.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I like that. That's really good.
Absolutely.
It works both ways, for sure.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting watching blackened whiskey, if you don't know, is Metallica's brand. Watching how that unfolds, what I pay attention to most are comments on social media. And I'm still so amazed by how many people are like, oh, I bought this whiskey because I really love Metallica. I was never a whiskey drinker. I really like this whiskey. And every time I'm like, ding, this is hopefully, from being in the perspective in the whiskey business, what I hope for when I see bands, and we know now it wasn't just a novelty thing, which makes me really happy, with black whiskey in specific, and they have one of the best distillers, again, on board.
Yeah, Rob's awesome.
Rob's amazing, but I love reading those comments, and that's still the majority of comments. So they're 3 years in now, and they're still bringing in new fans to whiskey, American whiskey.
Bring people into whiskey.
It's fantastic. I love that. And that's what we all hope for. So, but you come from the music industry for a while.
Yeah. No, at least I've tried to be in the music industry for a long time, but I was a pro guitar player for a hot minute. Actually met my wife when I was a pro guitar player, so that's how I know she loves me. Because you know what they call a guitarist without girlfriends?
Oh, what?
Homeless.
That's so true.
It's so true. I can vouch for that personally. But you know, music has really been one of the things that really it's been with me since I can remember. Since an early kind of teenager, and I found the guitar and kind of lost myself in playing music for many years. Um, Metal is what spoke to me when I was that kid. It's really, music has been a part of my life and has continued to be a part of my life, and will continue to be a part of my life for a long time, hopefully, because it means a lot. And so, the problem is I'm not very good at it, but it doesn't mean I don't love it.
Sure.
And
I don't think you have to be good at it.
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
It's my Marshall sack this is sitting on, so ha. But it's important, and so it's that creativity, and I think there's a lot in common between music and whiskey or spirits in general, because they're all creative processes.
Yes.
Yep.
And
For sure.
And they take a long time to develop.
Yep.
And there's many key factors to it. You can't. It's not just the distiller. It's not just the singer.
It's not just the singer. It's not just the equipment. It's not just the song.
Yep.
It's everything has to be humming.
Yeah.
There's so much. If there's a great band, there's so much going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Same thing with whiskey.
Yeah.
For there to be a great whiskey, there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes with a hell of a team. With everybody from, of course, the distillers, but also the farmers and the bottlers and the truck drivers that drive everything around, and the salespeople and the marketers and the retailers and the bars and the bartenders. Someday.
There's so many parallels you can make, because you said something, it just kind of triggers something in my head. I suppose a live show could be something of like a comparison to making a whiskey. The terroir, it's like the venue, the vibe can make a great show, or it can make the show suck. In the same way with whiskey, you could have a bad barrel, you could have a bad environment for aging. So many different factors come into whether your show is great or your whiskey is great, or they're horrible.
Everything matters. And so, and at the end of the day, music and whiskey, aside from the fact there are some similarities, they go really well
They
together.
go really
Yes,
well
they
together.
do.
Yeah. And I think also, just to beat this on the head the last time, a great whiskey maker can make something incredible out of poor conditions. And I think about Prince, his Super Bowl performance in the rain, singing, dancing, playing guitar in high heels. And it was one of the coolest Super Bowl performances I've ever seen. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. I think it's very similar with, especially with craft distilleries, and craft producers do not get enough credit for the beautiful spirits that come out of your distilleries with conditions that sometimes are really difficult, and you don't have the best of the best, and you don't have extra time or extra money or people or access to all these amazing things that the big distilleries have, and yet you can come out with award-winning whiskey.
No, I mean it's really hard work putting out craft whiskey. It's really hard work putting out craft spirits, but it's partially that's what it appeals to me, is that it's hard and it's challenging. That's why it's rewarding and it's interesting. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And as we sit and watch craft whiskey these days, everybody is trying to do it. But it's really freaking hard, and that's why it makes it rewarding.
You don't get in this business to make money. That's the number one thing that people don't realize. I used to start off my tasting saying that, and I found myself saying that a lot in the past 2 years working for Uncle Nearest. Fawn didn't start this distillery to make money, because the upfront investment alone, by the time you actually see money, it's a difficult thing. So you have to love it. It has to be a passion, and then the rest will come.
You have to care. You have to want to do this really badly. You make a lot more money doing something else. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I know I would.
That brings up a good point. I like to point out to people, and I'm guilty of this in the past, is you walk into a liquor store and you see a bottle of craft bourbon that's 4 years old next to a bottle of your large mass-produced bourbon that may be 12 years old. And you think, why would I pay more for the craft that's 4 year than I do the bottle of 12 year? Well, there's a good reason for that. This stuff, like Paul was saying, is handcrafted. There's a lot of care and love put into it. He might obsess over the flavors, the blending and to get it just right. So the product, you got to look at the product you get at the end. Don't look at the age statements. Sample bottle, and you're gonna taste the care and the blood, the sweat, and the tears that went into that bottle.
And
that's what really counts at the end.
And the fact that most crop distillers are using locally sourced grains. Everything is done by hand. A lot do hand labeling still. Like you said, you do everything. It's grain to glass, and it does make a difference in flavor. It does, and it also makes a difference in our economy. If we want to stabilize the American economy, we need American manufacturing again. We need our agriculture to survive. Spirits is a great way to make sure that happens. And supporting your small spirits brand is a great way to make sure that. And we have coopering again in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We have, people just. I was just talking about this recently. People not realizing I went through a few states and gave them the dates on when you could legally manufacture alcohol again, and people were blown away by how recent it was in so many states. It's so important to, I think, the history of the United States, and it's important to our economy. So there's a lot
matters.
more than the age statement.
Obviously age matters. It's not the only thing, but especially after COVID, I think people are really starting to understand that it's important to support the things that you think are important.
Mm-hmm.
If you think it's important to have distillers that are not one of the 7 legacy distillers,
Mm-hmm.
you have to actually buy their products.
Mm-hmm.
If you think it's important that we have American farmers growing corn, well, we need to be using American corn. If you think if you think all these things are important, you have to put your money where your mouth is, because there are people like me and people like you and people like all of us that are putting our money where our mouth is, and we're out here making whiskey every day. We do it in a way that costs a decent amount of money because we don't have the economies of scale. We don't have a lot of things, but we American grains. We use American truckers. We hire American people. All of our glass bottles are made in America now. Everything we do is as close to home as we can get it. And I think that's important to a lot of people.
It is very important. It's spend intentionally. If you're going to manufacture intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
then you expect your consumers to also spend and consume intentionally. And if we all did that, one of my friends in Seattle owns a company called The Intentionalist, and that is her mission, to teach people how to spend intentionally and how it benefits you back by benefiting your local economy, your local community. It's how I think it's supposed to work. And I hope that I think I agree with you, it's going to be a push to getting back to that, people really paying attention to, I want to support. I can remember years ago people saying, oh, God, it's such a shame that little restaurant down the street was so cute, it closed.
Yeah.
And I would say, because I've been a small business owner, did you
go
go there? And they're, we never got to go there. It was there for 3 years. And you didn't go? And then you're shocked that it closed.
I have a friend that used to have, she closed it for other reasons, but she had a little kids' clothing store that sold really nice, expensive kids' clothing. And people would literally, roughly once a week, stop by to say, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad you exist. I was just on my way to Target to go buy some clothes for my kid, and I wanted to stop by and say thank you for being here. And you're like, well, if you want to say thank you for being here, the best way to do that is to not go to Target to buy the kids' clothes there.
Right.
So when it closes, understand that it's there. Especially we've lost a lot of restaurants this year,
Mm-hmm.
and it always makes me sad. And I'm like, oh, you know whose fault that is that it closed?
Yep.
It's my fault.
Yep.
And some of them are places they don't like, so it's fine, doesn't matter. But you don't really want to see anybody go out of business.
Well, there's a few I'd like to see go out of business.
Yeah, fair.
The special chicken place I wouldn't mind seeing going out of business.
But all that even said, it doesn't even mean you have to spend that much money. Like a bottle of Few is about $45.
Yeah.
It's really not that expensive. You're not saying, oh, spend $200 a bottle on whiskey.
Yeah.
It's $45.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what whiskey costs.
Yep.
And even for Few, it's not uncommon. I'll see it as low as 35,
Yeah.
that's what whiskey costs.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think that intentional and, working with part of the economic system, I think it matters and
Yeah.
people are noticing.
It does matter. And, I just came from a really small city in Washington State that's its identity is changing over the past couple of years, which has been interesting as people are fleeing the big cities, getting priced out of Seattle and Portland and California. They're going to a small mountain city like Spokane. And Spokane's right on the border of northern Idaho, and it's been very conservative and very Republican. You have a lot of those crazy militias that, actual Nazi organizations that have actually come from there, which I didn't know that until I moved there. And you've got diversity now, a little bit coming in, and you've got things are changing, and you can see it's like a very uncomfortable thing happening, and COVID happens, and it was a Chick-fil-A had already been planned, of course, years ago to open, and it just happened to open at the end of summer during COVID. And people were posting pictures online. They were beside themselves that there was a line of cars. They had to get police because it was out into the highway to get to this. People were waiting 2 hours in line to go through to drive through Chick-fil-A. So all the small business owners are screaming on social media, like, are you kidding me? Not only is our sandwich twice the size, it's cheaper, and we've been offering to deliver it to your house for almost a year now, and you're going to sit in line for 2 hours at Chick-fil-A. So it was really interesting, and I mean, to me, I'm not surprised. I'm like, well, of course, duh. I mean, welcome to America. Unfortunately, this is the bullshit we've been doing for a very long time. And so I'm just watching it play out, and I'm watching how the restaurants are handling it, how consumers are going, oh, well, I didn't know you had a chicken sandwich. You don't care if they have a chicken sandwich. You're going to go to Chick-fil-A anyway.
Sure.
But watching this community have to educate itself.
Like, oh, wait a second.
Yes, was very, very interesting. And all of a sudden, all the small restaurants are posting our chicken special of the week. Come here, the not Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich and all of this. Absolutely, really incredible, but super tied into it's just a lack of understanding. And
I just want to stop by and say thanks. I'm really glad you're here. I was on my way to Chick-fil-A, and I just really want to say thank you. I'm really glad you're here.
Sandwich. That's great. I see that it's cheaper and bigger, but cool. You keep doing that.
Yeah, really proud. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It's really glad to see you're open. I just wanted to go get some waffle fries at Chick-fil-A.
Welcome to America.
It's great. Yeah, I love Chick-fil-A. It's a great sandwich, but
that place sucks. It can burn for all I care. I got actually put in Twitter jail for 2 days for telling Ted Cruz that he should go choke on a Chick-fil-A. Yeah. That. Have you seen some of the shit on Twitter? I was literally fighting actual Nazis.
Right.
Like actual Nazis on Twitter. It took me 2 weeks to get their accounts taken down. But I tell Ted Cruz to choke on a Chick-fil-A, and I'm banned from Twitter for 2 days. Okay. Whatever.
Anyway, this has been our PSA. Shop local. Support your small businesses.
Hey, we get to do this.
Yep.
Because it's my show, damn it. I can
it's her
say
show. She knows what she's doing. She's the boss. No, you're the boss too, I guess.
No, she's the boss.
Well, I mean, he has editing powers, so he's kind of the side.
I'm just the guy that
This is true. I can cut stuff out.
Exactly. He has the power to edit me. So does my husband.
The editor is the most powerful person.
Yeah, he does sound, and my husband does video. So the two of them, if they got together, it'd be enough. So let's talk about music while we're here for a little bit,
Perfect.
shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So it's been a really long time, I think, it's been a while since we first had you on the show.
Yeah.
Almost a year. Pretty soon
Definitely,
after COVID, yeah. I think it was like April or something.
And then we did, was it December? We did another one?
We did we did
November, December?
album covers.
That was fun. That was
super fun. That was actually, we could have gone on forever and ever.
There's some bad album covers.
Parts, yeah. But let's talk about, it's been a long time since Ed and I, as main hosts, have talked about our roots, our music roots. And we've got a lot of new viewers and listeners, which is awesome these days. So, Paul, why don't you start off? What got you into music? What are you, when you look back, what is your soundtrack to growing up?
I mean, I think, growing up, I wasn't exposed to all that much music. And then kind of junior high school, I found metal. Metallica, Scorpions, Motley Crue, Rat, Maiden, a lot of the big giant names of metal. I was like, oh, I like this. I'm just a hillbilly kid from a farm town in Michigan, and for whatever reason, it really spoke to me. And then I discovered that I was a really dorky, unathletic kid, and girls were never going to like me because I couldn't hit a ball or catch a ball or do any of that. But maybe they'd like me if I played guitar.
Smart.
So that worked. I think so. All throughout high school, I think I was just really a huge metalhead. Going into college, I discovered the Grateful Dead and turned into a major Deadhead.
The bane of my existence.
Sorry, but I'm a huge Deadhead.
I know this about you already. I still like you.
I wear it on my sleeve. It's okay. I know I'm supposed to be embarrassed, but I'm not. But it's just always kind of been there. Music is there. It's like whiskey, right? Music's there when you're happy. Music's there when you're sad. Music's there when you're hanging out with friends. Music's there when you're alone. Early in the morning, late at night. I mean, there's music that is going to fit whatever you need at that moment. Quiet backdrop, noisy backdrop, everything from the quiet reflection with headphones and an acoustic singer-songwriter where you're just really alone and very deeply personal to stadiums, the hands in the air, throwing horns. I think I just kind of fell in love with it. And the cool thing is now my kids are getting into music, and so I'm watching them have a lot of the same progression that I did, including even my youngest daughter recently stole one of my guitars the same way I stole my dad's guitar when I was her age. So,
That's
that's
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Totally. Is there, when you look back, because I know I have a specific memory, is there one particular band or album that you have a specific memory young as kind of your first gateway? Either album or song or band.
Probably have to be either Screaming in the Night by Crocus,
Oh, nice.
possibly Rock You Like a Hurricane, Storks.
Good one.
And then, those really kind of shook me to the core. Of course, Stairway to Heaven was huge, and it was still probably overplayed back then, but not to my 14-year-old
Yeah.
head. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. It just gets a little much.
Until you drive, I think it's not played out yet. Unless
Right.
you're in a place where the radio. But as a kid, you don't have the radio on all day like you would at work. So I feel the same way. Yeah.
And so I think that just kind of always really spoke to me. And of course, Michigan, you can't go to Michigan and not love Seeger or the Nuge. It's actually legally mandated, I think.
I can see that.
Wango Tango.
Oh.
We can all talk about Nugent and his
Oh,
politics, and we'll
shit.
just leave that out.
He's another guy that can choke on a Chick-fil-A.
But you can rock out.
However, he can rock out.
Fuck.
The Wangos y Tango continues to rock. Stranglehold continues to rock.
Oh, Lord.
Can't deny the talent, although you can maybe cringe a little bit with the guy.
Yeah. And what about you?
Not me. Music has always been in the background in my life. Fortunately, my mother always played music in the house. She had a record collection, and she listened to a lot of like black gospel music and stuff, like Andre Crouch and Maranatha Band, stuff like that. And she also had a Debbie Boone album, "You Light Up My Life." I remember she would play all the time.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was a great hair
Oh,
version
and yeah, I could probably at one point in my life sing every song in order off that album because it got played so much. But later on, I'm trying to think of the first album I actually went out and purposely bought with my own money. It was a cassette tape, of course, at that time. And I'm almost a little embarrassed to say it, but it was the Xanadu soundtrack.
God, don't be embarrassed.
That was it was the Tubes on there,
Yeah,
Living It and John,
Yeah.
and But yeah, that was my first. I would play that on my little tape deck,
Yeah.
you know, with the one with the button
Yep,
pushing down on the.
The little handle.
But that's the power of music too, right? And the second you said Xanadu, Sailor and I both instinctively went.
And I never really thought about this too, but actually that was like around the time I began my love for recording. Because me and my friends, we would always, put our tapes in and just record ourselves talking and doing
same.
stupid crap.
Yep.
And they
We
were like,
recorded
"Holy crap,"
hurricanes.
so that's
That
where I
was
really
fun.
this whole thing really
Yep.
started.
Same. I think I was like 7, and then when I started recording, I would do the same thing, and I would hide it under the couch and like tape record my parents fighting.
Yeah.
I was just trying to record like house life. I don't know, I was at 7.
But yeah, Xanadu was like more like late grade school. And I think it was middle school, probably 8th grade, where I discovered Def Leppard.
Ooh.
And that changed my life.
Pyromania.
Right there, Pyromania album,
Oh, yeah.
1983. Listening to that album, and it's been down the rabbit hole ever since. Rat, Scorpions, Twisted Sister.
Good thing Matt's not here. He'd be freaking out. Poison.
Yeah, I got into the hair metal seriously back then. Unfortunately, I didn't discover Metallica until a little bit later in life, till I hit college. But that opened up a whole another layer for me once I did that.
I went to elementary school with Jason Newkid's sister, which was my claim to fame.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
So I was at his homecoming show, his first show back up in Michigan. And people were going nuts because he grew up like probably 15 minutes from where he was playing.
Yeah.
It's fucking Metallica.
Yeah,
People
hell yeah.
Hometown kid made good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I had Cindy Crawford's younger sister Danielle was in my class in high school, so that's my claim to fame.
Okay.
Not really a thing to do music, but you're bringing up, going to high school with people who are related to other famous people. So yeah, but that's basically my roots in a nutshell right there. How about you, Sailor?
So I have a specific memory. I also grew up with a ton of music. My dad was a big rocker and metalhead for his day. My mom was a big Zeppelin fan, so and she also loved Santana would be playing in the house all the time, and she was pretty eclectic. She was a disco girl forever, and so I grew up on Michael Jackson before he was, Jackson 5 and, all that stuff, but also a lot of, she liked Cream, and she liked, I just remember a lot of my stepdad, or my dad was big into Sabbath and Cream as well. So, and my mom would tell me these stories about, she actually dated his roommate. It was her high school boyfriend, but he was a year ahead of her. So when she would go up to upstate New York from the city to visit her boyfriend, he had this crazy roommate who would be like climbing up on top of the refrigerator and like jumping off to like the certain point of the saw. That's my father. She ends up having a child with that guy. I mean, thank God, but I don't know what her choice is. So I remember specifically being at a friend's house and hearing it was Blizzard of Oz, and being like, what is this? And she was like making out with her boyfriend, and then my other friend was doing something. So it's kind of like I would end up getting like lost in the corner, and I would always go through people's records, and I'm like the DJ because they're all doing whatever. And I was like, what is this? And I was like, I looked at the cover, I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I was like, I'm gonna put it on and see what it's like, and I just was mesmerized. It's like a very specific memory, and I had to find out who this guy was. And I didn't have anything to write down, so I had to just remember Blizzard Oz, and I kept asking friends, and nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. And then finally, my best friend who lived one house down from me, her older brother is responsible, and he's been talked about a lot on the show, introducing me to everything. I asked him, and of course he knew. He's like, oh, that's Ozzy Osbourne. And I'm like, oh, I have to get that. And then through that, I found Iron Maiden, I found something Def Leppard, Scorpions, all that stuff, Rad, everything. And the funniest thing is that, it's funny now, it was funny then, when my mother would go through these spells where she would be like, you're acting crazy, something's influencing you. And here she was, like, the hippie, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so she would, like, be going through my purse for drugs. I'm like, I don't even do drugs yet, but now I'm really curious about it. So that
Maybe I
worked out
should.
really well. But then she'd go to my music, she's like, what is this? And I'm like, and I go running out to the living room, grab her Black Sabbath album, I'm like, it's the same guy. And I was like, you know, it's young teenager, so I'm like incensed. And she just stood there and just throws it on the floor and walks away. And I was like, yeah, see, you don't know.
My dad pulled me aside because he used to exercise bike, and I had this is Spinal Tap on VHS, of course. But he didn't know it was a joke, and so he just randomly started watching this. And so I got pulled aside by my parents who were very concerned about my heroes. Like, we're really concerned about the people you're looking up to. We watched this movie about a band called Spinal Tap that you're really into, and we're very nervous about you. I'm like, it's actually a comedy. So they were just like terrified that I was being led down this atrocious path. And I'm Cleveland, like, my son likes this?
I got busted for, so I told you we would record our burps. So once I figured out how to splice tapes, I was like, I would cut out the songs I didn't like, and I would do the special scotch tape thing, you know, and so I was like in splicing tapes. And then when I figured out, when I got my 2 cassette player, like you could overdub, and so I started making all these cool things. And so I was like putting our burp, we would like drink half a bottle of Dr. Pepper and try to like say the alphabet while we're burping and things. Yeah. And this is hysterical when you're like 12, right?
It's pretty hysterical when you're 51.
I mean, I still laugh when I burp. So I was splicing it in with like weird things from the movie Weird Science, and like, so my mom finds it one day because she's going through my shit, of course. We call her the FBI. And she's like, I come home from school and she's like sitting at the table and she does this. She pushes the tape towards me. Put it in the tape player. And I'm like, what is this? She's like, put it in. And I put it in and I press play and I start hysterical laughing. She's like, you think this is funny? This is music to you? And I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, this is not me. And she started going on this rant, and I'm just like, okay, keep it together, hold it together. I'm like, Mom, this isn't music. We're burping, and I like taped over stuff from a movie. And she's like, yes, stick in the head. I'm like, what?
Maybe.
Okay, but she thought I purchased that as a tape.
Oh my god.
And she's like, because I would decorate the tape, I would like get like white out and paint pens, and Mary would decorate the whole tape. And I like made my own insert for it, and she thought it was. She's like, "This is not music." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, it's not music." And
you had to sit there and wait by the radio for the song to come on, and then jump across the room to try to get it.
That was View to a Kill. I got View to a Kill. They played it on the radio before you could get the album, before the movie came out.
Nice.
And I had to run. I got it, and then went into my friend's house, and her older brother and I had a battle with $2. Who got it first? And I was like,
nice. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that story is so similar to his Spinal Tap story, though. When you think about
that's
it.
What I was specifically talking about. I was like, do they realize this is a joke? I kept looking at her like, how do you not find this funny? And then years later, she's classic with this. I end up finding it. I mean, I'm probably in or out of college, and I played it for her, and she's dying hysterically, and I'm like, what? And I told her the story. She goes, I didn't say that. I'm like, oh my god. Same thing. She would find my tapes, and she was like, Metallica. Okay, she's like, I put a poster on the wall, and they had beer cans in their hands. She's like, take that poster down. Look at these juvenile delinquents. And I'm like, pretty sure at this point they're millionaires, but all right, cool. It was after this. I'm like, okay, cool, fine. And then she starts telling me she wants to so she's going to send me to a therapist. And the whole thing is my metal music, right? This is the reason. And so flash forward to like 10 years ago. I'm with my ex-husband and we're with my parents. My stepdad is fucking awesome. And he's a Metallica fan. And she brings it up, well, you know, what changed you was when you started listening to that music. And I'm like, do you really know what they were singing about? My stepdad goes, actually, they're speaking out against addiction. And they're speaking of, like, all this, and she's like, she just got quiet. I'm like, yeah, maybe you could have read the lyrics like I kept asking you to, because then I'd bring it to the therapist and they'd look at me and go,
okay.
I don't see a problem with it. I'm like, can you tell that lady out there that then, please? Because all my shit's confiscated. That was being a rebel back then, I guess. Nowadays,
Nowadays, my son rebels by listening to bop jazz from the 50s. Okay.
Yeah.
He's way into Train and Miles Davis, and it's awesome. Like,
yeah.
who doesn't like Train? Who
But
doesn't like
that's what
Miles
makes
Davis?
him strange and unusual, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but he rebels by listening to jazz.
That's
So.
amazing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, how do kids rebel today? What do you rebel with exactly? Because it seems like there's no filter on anything anymore.
Well, it depends. I think a lot of it depends on your parents too.
True.
Do you need to rebel against your parents, or are your
True.
parents cool? Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's, like, well, I'm gonna look at my kids. My kids are kind of, how do you rebel against this?
Listening to jazz.
Right,
Do they go to church on Sundays by themselves?
Yeah,
Because they're not
exactly.
supposed to go to church?
I'm never touching a drop of alcohol.
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
like.
Like, how do you rebel when your dad is this? Your dad's a fucking train wreck. How do you rebel?
Well,
Like, don't drink. Like, oops.
yeah. I mean, I don't have
Alcohol will lead you nowhere. Oh wait.
Ta-da!
My parents apologized to me a couple years ago. Like, if we had known what you were going to do with alcohol, we would have been a lot calmer. I'm like, here you go.
I would have loved to have gotten that apology. When I got my icon award, I sent it to my mother and I'm like, see, all that crap you gave me about getting a conventional job. Hello. And it went right over her head. I'm like, all right, fine. Whatever.
If we had known what you would do with alcohol.
Yeah, if we had only known. Oh, alcohol. I love alcohol. I love music.
Yeah, they go well together.
They go so well together. Well, this was a blast. Thanks, Paul, for
Oh,
giving
thanks
us
for
a
having me on.
tour of the distillery and the warehouse.
Yeah.
And next time we come through, we should do it in there to have a nice backdrop.
It is a cool backdrop.
It is a really cool backdrop.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for your next release and your 10-year anniversary. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
It is a big deal.
That's a
That
really
is-
big deal.
Like, we're
deal.
really excited. Like, I remember the first year, like, going, wait, I survived a whole year of this? Like, nobody's survived. Like, I don't even know the numbers. It's like 98% of businesses fail in the first year.
Yep.
And then 99 fail within 2, and so we made it to our second year. I was like, wait, what the fuck? How am I still,
Yeah.
how are we still alive? And then the third year, like, wait a second, we're one of the biggest companies in our category now. Like, we made it 3 years. Like, we're doing pretty solid. What the hell? This alcohol stuff might work out.
And then you survived the pandemic, which is
And we're surviving the pandemic. We were doing, obviously we've got room to continue to grow like everybody else,
Yep.
but we've got nothing to complain about. We're hanging in, we survived, and really setting ourselves up to continue to bring more great whiskey to more great people for many years to come.
awesome.
What more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this was super cool. It was
Thanks,
cool to
Ed.
be on set
Yeah,
all together,
Thanks, Paul.
not just on video, especially Ed. The two of us don't get to see each other once every couple of years.
Yeah. Well, we're setting a pattern now, like every 2 years. Let's we gotta make it more
Let's
often
hope
than
I'm
that.
not moving. It's just visiting, please.
Rain or shine, or even a snowstorm.
Or pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or about this time, maybe this time next year, I
You
can
come
come down
down
and
to
see you
us.
in Florida
Yeah.
and get away from all
Yes,
this.
because
this
Matt
snow
and I
crap.
will be about 45 minutes away from each other, so I think that should be the new hub.
Nice.
Everybody can come visit down there. I've got plenty of room right near the beach, and we'll do our wintertime recording from there.
Good deal.
I'm in.
I mean,
All right, cool. All right, everybody.
Thank you for
That's
listening
it.
to Metal Rocket Whiskey.
Thank you so much.
Later,
and
everybody.
make sure you get a bottle of Few and follow them on social media.
yes,
And,
I'll just take these with me.
Yeah, I'll take these too. Okay, here we go.
All right,
Okay,
see you, everyone.
bye.